Hello and welcome to Look Down There, the show where we talk about all the things that we don't talk about. I'm your host, Michelle Lamore. My guest today was born and raised in Los Angeles. Yes, they do exist. She is a singer, a spokesmodel, a director, a producer, an actress, and a burlesque dancer. She's also a mom of the cutest kid I have ever met. Please welcome my friend Natasha Estrada.
Thank you. That was such a lovely intro.
I'm just winging it. Yeah.
Gosh, that's good. I liked it. There was
Yeah.
so many things I was like, oh, I do that. That's right. Yes.
Right. It's good to be reminded sometimes, especially now when we're like, who are we without an audience?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely been a challenging but very insightful few months, I would say. I think in a lot of ways, um, it was almost needed, to go inward this time when you're sort of forced, you have no other option but to look in. And I think that we are seeing a lot of evolution on a personal level, on a cultural level, socially. So it will be interesting in the coming months as well to see how that all plays out.
Right. Yeah. It will be interesting to see how much of that we hang on to. And I feel the same. I think this is definitely needed. And I was definitely saying before the pandemic, I need a break. I can't take it. I was really
Yeah.
restless. I wasn't comfortable. Did I necessarily mean I needed a break for a year? No, maybe not.
Yeah.
But we're all trying the best that we can. Yeah, and
It's
I've
been a
I've
really good
enjoyed.
self-discovery, a year of self-discovery. As much as I thought I knew myself, or I could have said, I'm confident in my skin and who I am and what I do and the what I'm projecting out there. This was a real look at are you, and I realized it wasn't. I was still maybe holding up ideals of myself or in some aspects what I thought I should be. And yeah, I've had to have a whole new level of understanding, of compassion, of forgiveness, for myself, for my body, for who I am, my traumas, what I've been through, as much as I miss that audience, and I do miss it. Yeah, I think that's the real element. On the other hand, I've come to really enjoy my solitude. It's like, I don't know now when bars open up again. What? I don't know that
Yeah,
I'll want to go out. I'd love to see my friends perform and I'd love to perform, but outside of that, I don't know that I'll really want to do anything. I'm kind of becoming like a hairy lumberjack woman. I've been joking because I have this mole. I'm covered in many all over my body, but I have this one on my chin. And in adulthood, I would say maybe my late 20s, it started growing hair out of this mole, which I thought was like, like I'm so shameful. I don't want to tell anybody about it. And I would tweeze it the second I would. And I always had this thing like, are they looking at the hair on my mole? Kind of idea. And now I'm at the point where it's like when I get up in the morning, I like sing to it. I pull out the measuring tape. I'm like, like, what do you think the weather's gonna be like?
yeah.
I
It's
can
like
tell,
it's
like,
like your own bonsai tree. You're just grooming it and
yeah,
watering it. Yeah.
yeah, it tells me if there's danger ahead, it's like I can tell. So just really learning to embrace every part of my body in all new
Yes.
ways.
Yes.
Appreciation.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is wonderful. And it's so good that we have this time. But you mentioned compassion for yourself and for your body. I know you spent a lot of time as a burlesque dancer in and out of the scene and traveling with Dita Von Teese and, working with me. So how have you grown and how did you come to love yourself doing that kind of work? Or did you love yourself doing that kind of work?
That is a great question because I think so much of when I got started, I was really not, I didn't fit in definitely in the high school of burlesque. I definitely was not the popular girl. I wasn't in the you can sit with us crowd. And as much as we want to say, and it is for many reasons that it is very, we embrace all bodies, we're supportive, but there is still a very community, I'm very socially awkward, believe it or not. And I was always a loner, really. I was never in like troops. I tried to dabble, but even on tours with other performers, I was always did my own thing, which actually was great in a lot of ways because it afforded me to travel around the world many times. But I was never afraid of being alone, traveling by myself. So I spent the majority of my career doing that. And back to your question is, so when it came to my body, my persona, everything, my style, the way I moved, everything about that was, I think it was a lot of frustration. I was tired of being told I wasn't sexy because of my size. I'm more on the voluptuous side. I have been for most of my life. And that was one of the things that drew me to burlesque initially, was that I saw there was such diversity in body types being represented. However, it does come back into play as much as we're celebrating all these women types, who are the types that always get hired for certain shows or that are seen in a certain, promoted, and I wasn't that. I grew up in a live music scene. Came up in the rockabilly scene, and I was doing changing in dive bars and coming out in between bands. And then it was a point where I was singing in a band touring around the world. Sometimes I would be singing, go change my outfit, come, and I was fronting a psychobilly band, and then coming out to change. And so that kind of, my body image was always shifting. I did kind of always feel like I had to present this very confident demeanor and stage presence. And while I did embody it, I would be lying if I said that it wasn't always in the back of my mind. Oh, I have a roll hanging out here. I have a fupa, like this kind of roll. It's like the fat fanny pack, and no matter what kind of underwear I wear and how much I think I've like got it all sucked and tucked, I would see a photo of the show after, and there'd always be like that little roll hanging out, and it would kill me. But the reaction I got from women, the support I got from women, like, oh, seeing you up there makes me feel like I could do this. And that kind of kept me going, really. But it's been all over the place. When I performed for the first time with Dita, I had just had my son. That was my first show back. And I've talked about this. Yeah, I talked about this before, where right before that, as soon as I said I was pregnant, everybody was kind of like, well, you had a good run, and so that was kind of like the best, like, fuck you, don't call it a comeback. Here I am. It was like the grandest stage, the biggest opportunity, and the biggest audiences. And that was the heaviest I'd ever been in my life. So to come back doing that, I think that at that point, and the audience was ravenous. So that did start to resonate with me, that it really doesn't matter your size. It is about, and this maybe sounds corny, but what's within. I can tell you, there's millions of great performers, and there's so many people who are gorgeous and have a gorgeous costume, but I feel like the costume is wearing them. And I'd much rather see somebody who's out there giving it their all, engaging with me. I don't care if you tripped and, whatever. It's like you want to feel like somebody's there with you. And so I really always tried to put my focus on the love I had for performing, because I love it. I love it. It's like the point when I just feel my most authentic. Like when you feel that your light is shining on the world and you're just giving it your all, is always when I'm performing of some sort. So whenever I would feel like I didn't want to, or I was feeling insecure, I just go back to that thought. and remember that it doesn't matter what you look like. That doesn't make you a great performer.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it is such an easy thing to say, but it is such a hard thing to practice. And I have
Yeah.
absolutely experienced that as well, not feeling like I fit in. And, yes, burlesque is a lot about empowerment and it does accept a lot of different sizes and shapes. Um, but at the end of the day, especially in LA, it is
Yeah.
entertainment. It is showbiz. So there is that element to it as well. And you're such a powerhouse on the stage that I'm sure if someone saw you, they wouldn't think that you ever had moments of insecurity. But I mean, we all do, right? And it's so important to go back to the root of why you're doing something.
Yeah, it's like you got to do it the way you feel it and leave all those other things behind. And I always go back to the women that I look up to, whether it be, Mae West or people who didn't fit in, people who had to trailblaze. The reason they are an icon is because they just kept, it didn't matter how many no's they got. It didn't matter how many people told them. I mean, when I was first starting out in LA, the scene had kind of really quieted. There was not opportunities happening. And the biggest show that was around was sort of underground and that had kind of dispersed. So it wasn't happening. And when so when I started performing, I got it all the time from the girls that I was performing with, that I wasn't sexy, that my style was too aggressive, that I, needed to be more polished or needed my costumes to be more this or that. And it got to me, of course, I'm human, but what really got to me was being out on that stage and I would see the audience and feel the audience and hear the roars. And I was like, I mean, I don't have, you know what I mean? Like that would just tell me, keep going, keep going. So yeah, I think you just have to keep following your own inner, I don't know, I'm trying to think of another word that isn't, redundant, but your own inner passion, what sets you on fire. And nobody else can say that but you're the only one that has the answer to it. So
Exactly, exactly. And that's kind of why this pandemic has been nice because you haven't had to really worry about comparing yourselves to others so much, right? It's been time to turn in on yourself and reflect and figure out like what are those passions? What are those things that turn you on and find your light, like what is that passion? And for me, I mean, I've definitely had to go through that this time, thinking, do I still enjoy burlesque? Do I still enjoy performing? Like, what does it all mean? All those
yeah.
all those questions. But yeah, but coming back to always coming back to like that audience feel, right?
Yeah. And that can
And
happen, no matter what you're doing. I always knew that I had bigger aspirations outside of burlesque. Funny enough, taking my clothes off in front of thousands of people seemed to be like the gateway into the other things. Like I was terrified of singing, but I could get on stage and take off my clothes. When it came to acting or directing or music, any of these other avenues, burlesque was a really great way for me to find my voice and really just connect with that. And I think that's always what people are responding to is the authenticity, your authentic, persona or whatever you're getting out there. And in this pandemic, another thing is going back to feeling confident and forgiving your body. I had a sort of a large pandemic shame for a while where I just got really low. And I think that that's an important part of transformation. It's kind of like all hitting you at once when you're on a, speed train moving along. It's like there is so much going on, but when you're so busy and things are so chaotic, you can overlook things and just keep moving. But when that stops, all of a sudden it's like all of these things are piling on you. But
yeah,
one
you
of the
have to
biggest things, yeah, for me
look
was,
directly at it. Yeah.
yeah, or
Mhm.
sometimes it's on top of you, to that
Yeah.
point. But I did learn to really love and respect and connect with my body in new ways. I appreciate, now that I'm with my son 24/7 in a house, I do think back to that time of being like, holy shit, my body did that. You know what I mean? I created a body, I had a baby, and now he's here and he's growing and all of this stuff is happening. And when I look at scars, or I had a C-section, so I have like a really gnarly, scar down there. We were talking about it the other day. It's it's kind of like your war wounds, your stories. And I just kind of don't. No, I don't just kind of. I just don't give a fuck anymore, but in a great way, in the way of learning how to create from a point that is me. For instance, wearing my natural hair and not feeling like I had to, put it in curlers and maintain a certain identity, letting it just go and being however you feel in that moment. Whether it's not shaving, whether it's wearing, whatever you want to wear, walk around your house in a fur coat. I'm doing dry January, so this is just water.
Yeah, I keep trying to do dry January, and then I'm like, yeah, I'll have a bottle of champagne. That's fine. So whatever. It's
But
all.
yeah, I think it's just learning. And when you start speaking to yourself in a new way, and I've stopped listening to a lot of the narratives, and even going on social media, which is, you know, a detriment probably to my professional career, because if you don't have this many likes, you're not getting this many comments, you don't have this many followers. But for my mentals, I really had to weigh out. I'm just seeing the same shit over and over again. And everybody's pretending that their life is going great and that I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And not to say I'm not happy for you. If you are, that's wonderful. But I also, for my own sake, needed a break for the mind, really.
Yeah.
Even though there was a break from performance, I was almost more like, now I'm really here. And
Yeah.
those
Yeah. For
comparison
me,
things were really happening.
yeah,
So
for me, I felt like sucked into social media because I was like, there's not a world outside. And so for me, like, it felt like I was just trying to stay
stay
connected and
connected.
like, I was just like feeding on it, but then I just felt terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have had to break away from that a lot.
Yeah. I think on the flip side, it has been great to see it slowly shifting, the landscape shifting as far as, what the narrative is with bodies and body acceptance and celebration and things like that is wonderful. But yeah, on a personal level, I had to really take a large step back. I've gotten back into my routine of it's only like I'm only 2 months in back into my routine, but back in my routine of rising before the sun. I wake up every day by 5 a.m. quietly. I actually started taking your advice, which is great advice, to just wind down before bed. Stop looking at your phone. When you wake up in the morning, don't make it. So I wake up at 5. I go work out for an hour, come home, walk my dog, and, eat, kind of living with intention, doing everything intentionally, and seeing how that really, you're right. You'll kind of start to learn very quickly what your priorities are and how do you really feel about things and what is really important to you. So it's been a
Yeah.
nice shift for
Yeah.
me.
No, that's great. And I know you said that you were with your son 24/7, but you and your son did one of my most favorite quarantine projects that I think I've seen. I don't think that you're doing it anymore, but
I
you
was
were
just
doing this.
thinking about
It's
this. Yeah.
so good. It's like you would take photos of him and he would take photos of you, and you were not holding back in your photos. You were giving, it. You were like, not like, I'm a mom and I can't be sexy. Like, you were just really embracing who you were. And I love that he can be around this kind of really positive and healthy energy and have this opportunity to grow up in a really, like, sexually healthy environment. That's
Yeah.
such a rarity, but I totally love that project.
Thank you. It's so funny. I was just thinking about this the other day. I was like, we got to start doing that again. I miss it. Yeah, essentially we would dress each other in all whatever costumes and odds and ends and bits and pieces, and then just take a photo. And I mean, these photos were just done around the house against a blank wall, whatever it was. But they really started. They started to develop their own, personality and follow. And pretty soon, people were like, "I can't wait to see what you're gonna do
Oh, yeah.
tomorrow."
I'm
But
saying like coffee table book, get into
yeah,
it. I love it.
yeah, well, we're coming up almost on a year, so maybe we should start that the year following. But yes, to your comment about, really embodying an empowered, sexually healthy, relationship, motherhood, all of these things with myself. I don't shy away from those things. And I think it's really important not to. We are human beings, we're sexual beings, our bodies are nothing to be ashamed of. And I think you have to teach that right off the bat. He's grown up in a unique experience a lot, oftentimes being backstage at shows, and I'll have to throw him in the green room with the girls getting
Yeah,
ready.
he's not phased, not one
Yeah.
bit. He's like, you're
Oh.
all weird. Yeah.
He's into the costumes a lot. He
Yeah.
loves like the colors and that's cool. But yeah.
It's funny. It was funny when I met him before this, but when you revealed to him that I was Beethoven,
Oh yeah.
and he was like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, I think too, presenting it in a way when you're connected with your body, so you are a performer who I've always admired. You were the first burlesque show I ever saw. I saw you at Teaserama when it
Oh
was in
my
LA.
gosh.
You were with the Lavender Cabaret.
Yeah,
And you were one of
2003.
the performers to this day. My mom too, when we left, stood out because you have such this it's this charisma, but it's smooth, it's fluid, and everything just is it's so sharp, but it flows. It's like it's such a joy to watch. But we've been talking a lot about performance, and he started skateboarding and things and learning what to do with your body. You have to take care, but it takes a lot of training. So Beethoven was a video watching you do isolation. It was mind-blowing. It was fascinating, and to see it go to the music, and it was really a lesson in like, wow, look what you can do, having this mind-body connection, and learning about it that way. So yeah, it was really exciting.
Well, I am honored to be a tool in this development.
Yeah, but it is, and even it's almost like I'm also relearning, this sexuality with myself and reconnecting with myself in that way. But I never shy away from it. I mean, it's always, I try to make it age appropriate, but if there's questions, I'm going to answer them honestly. And I think in doing that, I have a responsibility to do that, because in doing it that way, he's aware of his own body image. That's one thing. How he talks about himself, how he looks at himself, and comparing himself to other people. And also how to treat other people, and the thought process and consideration that other people have, and that it's okay, it's natural to feel these things, or to like these things, or to see these things, and not to feel shame surrounding sex. I think that's why we have so many problems, is feeling like we do have to be ashamed of what we're into, and so many people go so long through their lives without finding out what they're really into because of shame. It stops them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's very lucky to have a mom like you.
Thank you.
So, also in the pandemic, you created the Come to Mama show. Tell me a little bit about that.
So Come to Mama really was inspired by the moment, again, that I found out I was pregnant, and then even after having a kid, was this narrative of women being one or the other. I had been a burlesque performer. That was my entire career. And then once I was pregnant, people just wrote me off. And they were, and it happened so seamlessly. It was like, oh, well, she's done. No, I'm not done. That was just one part of my life. Then I had a kid. Then I came back. And this question always comes up of, you don't look like somebody's mom. And it really bothered me because I think about it all the time. What does somebody's mom look like? You know, you think of all the women in the world, and the way that we're mothers can mean that definition is so broad in itself. So I created this show because I wanted an opportunity to speak to women from all walks of life and talk about what their experiences are, whether they're artists. The first guest on my show was somebody who had been homeless and was taking care of her mother who was fighting stage 4 cancer. People don't talk about being homeless with kids. What is that like? You know, so often, it really, like you started this show, I was tired of these outdated expectations that are put on women and families about what we're supposed to be, who we're supposed to be, and that we're not allowed to embrace these parts of ourselves, that they're just suddenly dead. You know, no, I didn't stop having sex after I had a kid. Sorry. I didn't stop stripping after I had a kid, and I'm not ashamed of these things. I enjoy it. Being a mother, yeah, it's a priority. It's up there. I got to make sure the kid's fed and everything, but it's not my sole identity. I am all these other things besides just being a mother, and you don't just, like, you know, turn that off. And that's okay. It's okay to be more than just one thing. And if you don't want kids, that's okay too. You know? So
Yeah.
I really enjoy all of those experiences and talking about all those experiences and bringing them all to light, because yeah, it's crazy
Right.
that we still think a certain way. It's so archaic, you know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, that's why, right? This show is a place where we talk about the things we don't talk about. It's like we have to talk about these things because shame thrives in secrecy, right? If
Yeah.
we don't let it out, it just grows and grows and grows until it overshadows everything. So it's
Yeah.
great. It's great. I love what you're doing.
Oh,
You're what I call pussy confident, Natasha.
oh, I love it. I'll take it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I always love seeing you, and I've missed you, and I missed doing
I
our
missed you
shows.
too.
Yeah. So
Thank
for
you so
all,
much for having me. This was really, like, such a joy, and I was telling you before too. It really helped bringing me out of my pandemic spiral. You know, to be able to talk to friends again, have important conversations, talk about performing and all of those things. So it really is an honor to be here, and I love you dearly. So, and I'm so proud of I'm so in awe, I have to tell you, of everything that you've been creating while in this whole pandemic, and the fact that you've kept going and just really show that anything is possible. There's nothing can stop you. I love it.
oh, thank you, Natasha. The feeling is mutual. Love you.
Thank you.
Yes. So for all of you, make sure you follow at Natasha_Estrada and make sure you follow her show at Come to Mama Show. She'll have new episodes coming out very soon. And you can also follow me at Michelle Amore and at I Look Down There. Yeah, what is it? At I Look Down There. That's what it is. And, ooh, this is exciting. You can catch me and Natasha in the next show, Uncensored. It's coming out on February 13th. And Uncensored is just what it sounds like. We're going beyond burlesque, both in exposure and concept. So we're leaving our pasties, I was going to say at home, but we're all at home. So whatever.
On
join
the floor. On the
join us for
wall.
Uncensored on February 13th. And I am starting a new class on February 2nd called Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, all about
Ooh,
self-seduction and sensual movement. Not about the audience, it's all about you. So
that sounds
spread
good.
spread your legs and spread the love. Like us, share, subscribe, do all the things. And a reminder to grab a mirror and look down there.